Hello and welcome. I'm glad you're here. Find a comfortable place to rest. Let the sounds of today soften and fade away. Tonight, we are going on a long, quiet journey. We won't be visiting palaces or battlefields. Instead, we will step into a world of measured steps, of patient calculations, of goods moving slowly across a vast empire. We will spend a full day and night in the life of a Roman merchant. We will move at the pace of ox carts and sailing ships, at the pace of sunrise and lamplight. This is a story best told slowly, in a whisper, as the world outside grows quiet. So let your breathing deepen, let your thoughts settle, and let us drift back 2,000 years to a city on the Tiber as it sleeps. The deepest part of the night holds Rome. In a small room above a warehouse, a man named Lucius is asleep. The room is dark, but a single, tiny oil lamp burns in the corner, near a small wooden figure of Mercury, the god of trade. Its light is a fragile guardian in the gloom. Outside, the city is a tapestry of shadows and soft sounds. The occasional footsteps of a watchman echo in a narrow street. A dog barks far away, and beneath it all, a constant, gentle murmur. The river Tiber, flowing endlessly, whispering the secrets of the mountains it has passed. Lucius breathes in and out, in the steady rhythm of a man who has worked with his hands and his mind all day. His sleep is deep, but in the world beyond his walls, the mechanisms that will define his tomorrow are already in motion. Out on the dark roads leading to Rome, carts are moving. Their wooden wheels creak a slow, rhythmic song against the stone of the Via Appia. The oxen pull with a heavy, patient certainty. The drivers are wrapped in cloaks, half dreaming to the sound of hooves on stone. And farther still, on the ink-black Mediterranean Sea, a ship moves under the stars. A corbetta, a broad, round-hulled cargo ship, rides the gentle night swells. Its sail is reefed for the night. It drifts more than it sails. The steersman keeps his hand on the twin steering oars, his eyes fixed on a bright star in the north. The crew sleeps on the deck, wrapped in woolen blankets, rocked by the ancient cradle of the sea. In the ship's hold, silence surrounds the cargo. Papyrus scrolls from the marshes of Egypt, a bolt of silk that has passed through a dozen hands from the distant east, ivory tusks from Africa. All of this, the carts on the road, the ship on the sea, is moving slowly, inevitably, toward the city, toward the river docks, toward Lucius's warehouse. These are the first, faint pulses of the coming day, felt long before the light returns. They carry pottery from Arezzo, carefully packed in straw, jars of olives from the eastern hills. Their journey is a slow unraveling of distance, mile by patient mile. A single bird calls, a soft, questioning sound in the dark. Then another answers. The deep black of the sky begins to soften at its eastern edge, turning to a velvety indigo. A thin line of pale light defines the horizon. It is a promise. Inside the room, Lucius stirs. He wakes not with a start, but with a gradual return. The sounds of the deep night shift into the sounds of pre-dawn. He sits up on his simple bed, a wooden frame strung with leather, a mattress of wool-stuffed cloth on top. He rubs his face with rough hands. The air in the room is cool, carrying the damp smell of the river. His morning ritual is simple, meditative. He pours water from a pottery jug into a shallow basin. He splashes his face, his neck, his arms. The water is cold, shocking away the last remnants of sleep. He dries himself with a rough linen cloth. He pours water from a pottery jug into a shallow basin. He splashes his face, his neck, his arms. The water is cold, shocking away the last remnants of sleep. He dries himself with a rough linen cloth. He moves to a wooden chest and opens it. He does not select a fine, decorated tunic. Today's tunic is plain, off-white, made of good, sturdy wool. It is patched neatly at the elbow. It is the uniform of a working man. He pulls it over his head, adjusts it, and fastens it with a simple leather belt. His sandals wait by the door. He slips them on. Their soles are studded with hobnails for grip on the stone streets. Each action is deliberate, slow. This is the calm before the day's negotiations. He turns now to the shrine in the corner. He takes a small pinch of incense from a wooden box, a precious commodity, this. He sprinkles it over the tiny flame of the lamp. A fragrant, sweet smoke curls upward, catching the first gray light from the window. He bows his head for a moment, not in desperate prayer, but in quiet affirmation. A soft whisper fills the space between his breaths. Mercurius, guide my steps today. Let my words be fair. Let my measures be true. Bring safety to the ships that carry my goods. Bring good faith to those I deal with. It is a mantra for the day, a setting of intention. With this quiet moment complete, he blows out the night lamp. The room is now lit only by the dawn, a cool, gray light. He takes a small, hard loaf of yesterday's bread from a shelf, dips a corner into a little dish of olive oil, and eats it standing by the window. Breakfast is fuel, not a ceremony. And then, he opens his door and steps out into the cool alley. His walk to the river is a journey through a city waking in stages. Let us walk with him slowly. The alley is narrow, the buildings tall on either side, so the sky is just a narrow ribbon of pale blue above. The air smells of damp stone, of wood smoke from the first heating baths, of the faint, ever-present scent of humanity and animals that have slept close together. He passes a bakery. The oven door is open, and a wave of intense, dry heat pours into the street. The baker, white with flour from head to toe, is using a long wooden peel to slide unbaked loaves into the fiery interior. The smell is profound, comforting, the smell of a city staple. He passes a public fountain. A woman is already there, filling a clay amphora. The water splashes with a clean, constant sound. She nods to Lucius. He nods back. They are acquaintances, not friends. This is the civility of the neighborhood. As he nears the river, the sound changes. The quiet of the residential streets gives way to a low, growing hum. And then the smell changes. The damp, fertile, slightly muddy smell of the Tiber replaces the smell of bread and smoke. He reaches the top of a stairway leading down to the docks and pauses for a moment, looking down at the world of water and work. The sight that greets him is one of ordered, pre-dawn industry. This is the Portus Tiberinus, Rome's own river dock. It is a forest of masts and ropes. Small river barges, flat-bottomed and practical, are tied up along the wooden wharves. Larger seagoing ships are anchored further out in the deeper channel, their cargo being lighter to shore on these smaller boats. The sounds are a symphony of work. The creak of ropes under strain. The splash of oars as a skiff rows out to a ship. The solid thud of amphorae being set down on wooden planks. The calls of the stevedores, not shouts, but low, carrying chants to coordinate their lifts. Uno duo leva. 1-2 lift. Lucius walks with a familiar purpose to a specific barge. The captain, a grizzled man named Marcus with skin like old leather from a lifetime of sun and salt, sees him and raises a hand in greeting. They approach and clasp forearms. No lengthy greetings are needed. The shipment from Ostia? Lucius asks, his voice calm. It's here, Marcus replies, his voice a low rasp. The grain is dry. The oil is sealed. 1 amphora of wine cracked in the transfer. I've set it aside. This is the language of their partnership. Direct. Factual. Trust built on years of such mornings. Lucius begins his inspection. This is the most tactile part of his day. He runs his hands over the curved sides of the amphorae. He feels for hairline cracks, for any wetness that might indicate a leak. He taps the clay with his knuckle, listening for the dull, solid sound of a full jar, not the hollow echo of a broken one. He uncorks a small sample jar of the garum and sniffs cautiously. The smell is intensely fishy, salty, pungent. It is the ketchup of the Roman world. It is strong, which is good. He tastes a tiny drop on his finger. It is a complex, powerful flavor of fermented fish and salt. It is correct. He moves to the sacks of Egyptian wheat. He plunges his hand deep into one, letting the grain flow through his fingers. It is cool and dry, with no hint of the damp or the clumping that spells ruin. He brings a handful to his nose. It smells clean, of earth and distant sun, with no musty scent of mildew. This is good grain. It will make good bread. For the better part of an hour, he is like this, moving from pile to pile, a calm, assessing presence. He trusts Marcus, but verification is the very heart of his business. His eyes and hands are his tools. Finally, he is satisfied. He and Marcus retire to a small shack that serves as the captain's temporary office. They sit on stools and drink a cup of rough, watered wine from a shared jug. They discuss the price. It is a conversation, not an argument. They factor in the cracked jar, the speed of the delivery, the current market price for oil in the forum. They speak in numbers, in fractions of denarii. They settle on a number. Lucius produces a wax tablet from a pouch at his belt and uses a stylus to note the amount owed. He will pay later, after he has sold some of the goods. Credit is the grease that makes commerce flow. The next ship from Alexandria is due in 2 weeks, Marcus says, wiping his mouth. Glass. Some peppercorns, if the gods will it. Send word when it arrives. Lucius replies simply. The meeting is over. They clasp forearms again, and Lucius turns to leave the docks. The sun is now fully above the horizon, warming the stones and chasing the last of the river mist away. His back turns to the world of water, and he begins the journey inland, toward the beating heart of the city. The Forum awaits. The Roman Forum, at this hour, is a study in controlled chaos. But we will follow Lucius away from the grand political speeches into its quieter economic corners. He does not go to the grand Basilica Julia, where senators and lawyers argue over vast estates and inheritances. He heads instead for the Macellum, the great market building with its high, vaulted roof, and the open plaza around it where wholesale business is done. His first meeting is with a man named Gaius, who owns 3 Papini, simple eateries, in the bustling Subura district. Gaius needs a steady supply. They stand in the shaded portico of the Macellum, out of the climbing sun. Lucius, a good morning to you. The last batch of oil was excellent. My customers noticed. I'm glad to hear it, Gaius. It's from a new press in Beatica. A good year for olives, they say. They talk for a few moments about the weather in Hispania, about the health of Gaius's new grandson. This is not merely small talk. It is the careful maintenance of a relationship. It is the foundation of trust upon which all deals are built. Finally, they come to business. Gaius needs 20 amphorae of oil, 10 of wine, 5 of garum, and 2 sacks of lentils for his kitchens. Lucius quotes a price, his voice even. Gaius counters, not aggressively, but pointedly. He mentions he saw a competitor's stall across the way with a slightly lower price for North African oil. Lucius nods calmly. He has heard this before. His oil is from Leptis. A sharper, more peppery taste. This Bedtime oil is fruitier, mellower. Better for the dishes your wife makes, I think. And my measures, he says, tapping a bronze modius measure at his feet with his sandal, are certified by the Ediles. You get exactly what you pay for. No watered wine, no short measures. This is his reputation. Honest measure. Reliable quality. Gaius knows this. The man's face relaxes into a smile. They agree on a price only slightly lower than Lucius's first offer. It is a fair exchange. Lucius makes a note in his wax tablet. Felix will deliver it all before noon. Felix is Lucius's slave and right-hand man. A Greek, captured years ago in some long-forgotten campaign. He is highly educated and sharp-minded. He is not a menial laborer. He manages the warehouse, keeps complex records in both Latin and Greek, and can negotiate in Aramaic with traders from the East. Their relationship is one of mutual, quiet dependence. Lucius trusts Felix with the very heart of his business. Felix, in turn, has a life of responsibility and relative comfort far better than the mines or the galleys. It is a complicated, practical partnership, typical of the Roman world. Lucius spends the late morning moving through this dance of dealings. A calm conversation with the steward of a wealthy household about a set of fine, glossed pottery from Gaul for an upcoming wedding feast. A quicker negotiation with a legionary quartermaster, buying leather strips and iron nails in bulk for a barracks repair, a lucrative, if infrequent, contract. He buys a small lunch from a street vendor, a hot sausage nestled in a loaf of bread, a cup of well-watered wine from a communal jug. He eats it standing, leaning against a sun-warmed column, watching the endless flow of the crowd. He sees every layer of Roman society here. The senator in his pure white toga, a little island of dignity, surrounded by a flock of clients hoping for a favor. The matron with her entourage of servants, examining bolts of cloth from Syria. The foreign trader in a patterned tunic and a strange hat, speaking broken Latin with gestures. The slave boy on an errand, clutching a note and a coin, darting through the legs of the crowd. The Forum is a living, breathing organism, and Lucius is one of its steady, pulsing cells, facilitating the exchange that is its lifeblood. As the sun climbs to its peak and the forum grows hot and sleepy, the pace of business slows. The heavy air seems to thicken. Lucius decides it is time to return to his own domain, to the quiet and the order of his warehouse. He walks back through streets now shimmering with heat, leaving the public bustle behind. He arrives at a plain, heavy door set into a nondescript building near the Tiber. This is it. He unlocks it and steps inside. The door closes and the world changes. It is cool here and dim. The air is thick, not with heat, but with 100 silent smells. The dusty, sweet smell of grain. The sour, tangy smell of wine lees. The earthy, wholesome smell of lentils and dried beans. The sharp, clean scent of dried herbs, thyme, oregano, hanging in bunches from the ceiling beams. Light slants in from high, small windows, catching a million motes of dust that dance in the golden beams like slow, silent fireflies. This is his world in miniature. The empire, condensed into smells and textures. The warehouse is organized with meticulous calm. Along one wall, amphorae are stacked in stable pyramids, their pointed bottoms sunk into the sandy floor for stability. Each type has its place. Spanish oil here, in distinctive, tall jars. Campanian wine there, in squatter, rounder vessels. The prized fish sauce from a factory in Pompeii sits in its own corner. On wooden shelves along another wall rest the smaller, more precious items. Glass bottles from Alexandria, glowing with a deep green or blue hue in the dim light. Blocks of dark, fragrant incense from Arabia. Rolls of pale papyrus, brittle and dry to the touch. A locked iron-banded chest sits under the main table. Inside are his official scales, his set of bronze weights, each one certified by the city aediles, and his cash box, a mix of silver denarii and bronze sestertii. In the center of the room is a large, sturdy wooden table, scarred and stained from years of use. This is where Felix works. Wax tablets are neatly stacked to one side. A papyrus ledger is open, showing columns of elegant Greek script. Felix's clear, efficient hand. This table is the brain of the operation. Lucius spends a quiet hour here with Felix. They sit across from each other. They review the day's transactions, Felix reading from his notes. They discuss inventory. The Egyptian grain is selling very well. They should commit to buying more on the next available ship, even if the price has risen slightly. The Gallic pottery, however, is moving slowly. Perhaps they should lower the price to clear space for the new glassware expected from Alexandria. Felix mentions, looking up from the ledger, that he heard from a porter that a merchant from Carthage is in town, staying near the Circus Maximus. The man is reportedly looking to buy large quantities of Italian wine for export back to Africa. This is a potential big deal, the kind that could define a season. Lucius listens, his eyes half closed in thought. He makes a mental note to ask around, to find a way to be introduced. This time in the warehouse is contemplative. It is the quiet analysis that follows the morning's active negotiation. The scratch of Felix's stylus on a new tablet, the soft thump of a stored amphora being shifted in a far corner, the distant, muffled cry of a street hawker selling lentils. These are the sounds of this hour. It is a time of strategy, of taking stock, of planning the next move in a slow, patient game. And let us now, for a moment, pause the narrative of Lucius's day. Let us follow a single object from this quiet warehouse to see the final link in its unimaginably long journey. Take that amphora of Bedtime olive oil, the one Lucius inspected at dawn. Think of the journey that oil took. The olive grew on a gnarled tree on a sun-drenched hill in southern Hispania. It was picked by a farmer's calloused hands, hands that knew every tree in his grove. It was crushed in a stone mill turned by a blindfolded donkey, walking in endless circles. The fresh oil was stored in a clay jar made by a local potter, who sang as he worked his wheel. That jar was carried in a cart that creaked for weeks along coastal roads, through mountain passes. It was loaded onto a ship that sailed across the vast, open sea, past the Pillars of Hercules and along the coast of Gaul. It was transferred to a river barge at Ostia and pulled up the Tiber by mules on a towpath. It was inspected by Lucius's hands, sold in a conversation under the portico of the Macellum, delivered by Felix. He delivers it to the Popina in the Subura. The jar is placed in a cool, dark storeroom behind the kitchen. That evening, as the sun sets, a tired porter, A man who has spent his day carrying bundles for shopkeepers walks into the papina. The day's work is done, his muscles ache, and he is hungry. He places a single as a small bronze coin on the worn counter. Gaius's wife, a practical woman with a kind face, takes the coin. She uses a ladle to pour a generous portion of steaming stew from a large, blackened pot into a clay bowl. The stew is simple: barley, onions, a few chunks of pork, some wilted greens. Then, she takes a smaller ladle, dips it into an open amphora, that very amphora, and drizzles a thin, shimmering stream of golden green oil over the top of the stew. The porter takes his bowl to a rough wooden bench. He tears a piece of bread from a common loaf, dips it into the stew, soaking up the rich, oily broth, and eats. The fruity, peppery flavor of the Bedtime oil coats the bread, enhances the humble ingredients. For a few moments, in the warmth of the food, his tiredness is forgotten. This is the end of the road. Lucius never saw the tree, never met the farmer, never petted the donkey, never knew the porter's name. But he connected them all. His life was a life of invisible threads, tying the empire together, one meal, one transaction, one quiet agreement at a time. As the afternoon sun begins to lose its fierce heat, casting longer, softer shadows, Lucius allows himself a moment of stillness. He takes a stool and sits just outside the warehouse door, in a narrow strip of sunlight that has found its way between the buildings. He closes his eyes, feeling the warmth on his face. This is when the quieter worries can surface, in this space between the busyness of the day and the peace of the evening. He thinks of the ship from Alexandria. It is now over 2 weeks overdue. In his mind, unbidden, images form. He sees storm clouds on the horizon, towering and black. He sees the corkscrew motion of a ship in towering waves, men clinging to ropes. He sees other, darker possibilities: pirates, not the romantic heroes of a story, but desperate, hungry men in fast, lean boats. He has lost shipments before. It is a financial blow that takes a year, sometimes more, to recover from. There is no insurance company to call, no agency to investigate. The risk, as the sea captains say, is borne by the waves. The loss is his alone. But he does not dwell in panic. A kind of quiet philosophy, absorbed from the very air of Rome, helps him. He focuses on what he can control. He has diversified his goods. Not all his wealth is on that one ship. He has built relationships with reliable captains like Marcus, men who know the sea as well as they know their own hands. He has made his offerings to Mercury and to Neptune, the sea god. He has done what is in his power. The rest is in the hands of fate, of Fortuna. Trust, fides, is his real currency. In a world without instant communication, where a contract might take months to enforce across provinces, reputation is everything. His word is his bond. If he fails to pay a debt, if he sells bad goods, the news will travel with the next merchant leaving Rome. It will spread through the grapevine of the trading community in Ostia, in Puteoli, in Carthage. He will be marked. Credit will dry up. Partners will vanish. This social pressure, this invisible network of agreed-upon honesty, is a powerful enforcement mechanism. So he cultivates reliability like a precious crop. He pays his debts on time. He sells good quality. He stands by his agreements. This reputation is his armor against the chaos of the world. He also thinks, in this quiet moment, of his family. His wife, Emilia. She came from a family of modest shopkeepers. Their marriage was one of practical alignment, arranged by their fathers. But over the years, a deep affection has grown, a partnership built on shared work and shared hopes. He wants his children, a boy named Marcus, after his grandfather, and a girl named Livia, to have more security than he did. Perhaps his son will take over the business, expand it. Perhaps his daughter will marry into a family of slightly more prosperous grain merchants. These thoughts are not stressful dreams of grandeur. They are slow, patient hopes. They are grown like an olive tree, season by season, with careful tending. They are the future he is building, one honest transaction at a time. The sun dips lower now, casting the long, dramatic shadows of aqueducts and temple colonnades across the city. The commercial frenzy is truly over. The stalls in the Macellum are shuttered. It is time to close the ledger, to leave the world of negotium, business, trouble, busyness, and return to the world of odium, leisure, peace, personal life. Lucius stands, stretches his back, and goes inside to tell Felix to lock up for the night. Together, they secure the warehouse. The heavy door is closed and locked with an iron key. The public face of Lucius is put away. He walks home. The pace of his steps is slower now, more deliberate. The city's sound is changing once again. The shouts of commerce are gone, replaced by the sounds of domesticity. The chatter of families behind doorways, the clatter of pots being washed in courtyards, the cry of a baby, the smell of evening meals cooking over charcoal braziers. He arrives at his apartment building. He climbs a narrow stairway to the second floor. He opens the door to his home. Emilia has lit the oil lamps. Their soft, warm, flickering glow pushes back the gathering dusk in the main room. The room is tidy, swept clean. The smell of the evening meal, a simple stew of onions, barley, and a piece of pork, hangs warmly in the air. The children hear the door and come running. Young Marcus, 7 years old, shows him a wax tablet with his day's writing exercises, the letters, Lvsivs, carefully etched. Little Livia, only 4, holds up her doll, a simple thing made of rags, wanting him to see. He touches their heads, his rough hand gentle, and a quiet, tired smile touches his face. This is the reward. He washes again, this time more thoroughly at a basin in the corner, a ritual of cleaning off the dust and sweat of the public world. He changes into a cleaner, softer tunic reserved for home. The rough wool of the day is set aside. They sit to eat. The stew is served in a common bowl placed in the center of the small table. They use pieces of torn bread to scoop it up. There is a side dish of chopped vegetables, cucumber, onion, a few olives, dressed with vinegar and a pinch of herbs. A cup of wine, well watered, is shared. The conversation is quiet, meandering. Emilia talks about a neighbor who is ill. She took some broth to her. Lucius mentions, without pressure, the possible deal with the Carthaginian merchant, a hint of cautious optimism in his voice. The children are mostly quiet, focused on eating, their energy spent from a day of play in the courtyard. After the meal, there is little to do. The light from the lamps is too poor for reading or any detailed work. The cost of oil means they will not burn them for long. They might sit together for a short while on a bench. Lucius might tell a simple story, not of gods and heroes, but of a clever merchant who outwitted a thief, or a tale about his own father, who was a simple farmer in the Sabine Hills. The stories are familiar, soothing, like the worn fabric of his home tunic. One by one, the lamps are extinguished. The family retires to their sleeping mats in the adjacent room. The city's noise fades to a distant, lulling murmur. In the darkness, Lucius lies next to Emilia. He listens to the steady, slow breathing of his children in the corner. The imagined storms, the calculations of profit and loss, the price of Egyptian grain, they all recede. They are replaced by the solid, tangible reality of this room, this family, this peace. He can feel the day's fatigue in his bones, a good fatigue. He thinks once more of the small figurine of Mercury in the corner of the main room, barely visible in the faint moonlight now streaming through the window. He offers one last, silent thought of thanks for the safety of the day, for the food on the table, for the health of his family. And then, sleep begins to pull him under. His breathing deepens, slows, and sinks with the quiet rhythm of the night, with the breathing of his wife beside him. His consciousness unravels, like a ship's rope slipping gently into calm, dark water. As Lucius sleeps, let us reflect, for a final moment, on the legacy of a life like his. He will not have a statue erected in the Forum. His name will not be recorded in the annals written by senators for posterity. No poet will sing of his deeds. His legacy is more subtle, more pervasive, woven into the fabric of everyday life. It is in the very streets of Rome, paved with taxes paid on the goods he imported. It is in the diets of millions of Romans, enriched by foods from provinces they would never see, could never even imagine. It is in the spread of culture, a style of Samian pottery from Gaul becoming fashionable on a Roman table, an Egyptian glass bottle becoming a treasured heirloom in a village in Britannia. He was a single cell in the immense, living body of the empire, carrying nourishment from one part to another. His life was a testament to quiet ambition, to calculated risk, to the slow, patient building of trust in a wide and often unpredictable world. His story is the story of infrastructure, of roads used and maintained because of trade, of ships built in countless harbors, of markets regulated by common law. It is the story of human connection across vast distances, forged not by the sword of conquest, but by mutual need, by curiosity, and by the simple, universal possibility of profit. And so, as we leave Lucius to his rest, we can see his life not as a small thing, but as an essential thread in the vast, intricate, beautiful tapestry of the ancient world. A thread woven with patience, with care, with a quiet eye for quality, and with the humble hope for a good tomorrow. The marketplace is silent now. The docks are still. The ships on the dark sea sail on, guided by stars unseen from here. The long journey of the goods is paused, resting in 1,000 warehouses and shops across the empire, waiting for the next sunrise. Our journey, too, is complete. Let the images fade, the golden oil in the lamplight, the gray river at dawn, the quiet, focused face of a man checking his ledger. Let them soften, blur, and melt into the welcoming dark. Let your mind be as still as the forum under the moonlight, as peaceful as a ship on a calm sea at midnight. You have traveled far, in spirit and in time. You have walked in the sandals of a Roman merchant. Now, it is time for your own rest. Let go of the journey. The story is told. May your sleep be deep and undisturbed, as deep as the Roman night. May your dreams be calm. Good night.